Diamond, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, had the nerve to call Bitcoin fraud. His own firm is among the world's worst scammers, having a track record of cheating their customers, squeezing Uncle Sam for bailout funds at the expense of taxpayers' money, and dishing out insane bonuses to the head gang of this criminal enterprise. Jamie even joked about his own daughter buying Bitcoin like women can't make sound financial decisions, comparing her to the herd.
My daughter bought some Bitcoin and it went up and she thinks she's a genius now.
On top of that, this hypocrite compared Bitcoin to the tulip mania, while his own bank orchestrated the worst tulip mania in recent memory through subprime lending. And he had the audacity to threaten to fire any trader who buys Bitcoin, but he has no problem promoting and hiring individuals with zero integrity who are willing to manipulate the price of silver and gold all day long. This is from a man who leads an organization that is a seed investor in Ethereum and has high-ranking representatives in all major blockchain conferences. Blockchain technology is disrupting the financial services industry, and Jamie knows it and dreads it. NASDAQ is running test trials using it. Australia, Japan, and Germany are all prototyping blockchain services for their stock exchanges. TMX in Canada is already using blockchain for oil and gas contract trading. The blockchain is a single source of truth because it can't be tampered with and validates itself in real time. Up until now, there was no way to gain exposure to both the blockchain investment potential and cryptocurrencies using one specific investment strategy. Now, not only can you get leverage to cryptocurrencies, but on top of that, investors can get access to the best opportunities in blockchain by owning one publicly traded company that is about to become, as I see it, the world's first global blockchain dominator. Go to wealthresearchgroup.com/must for a complete overview of this newly listed business. Welcome to the Titans of Industry show. A few big updates before I introduce today's special guest and ask him some very tough questions. My partner came back from Houston yesterday as he went down there to help families in need and also attend a blockchain oil and gas conference. First of all, the attendees were Exxon executive, Halliburton, Microsoft, JP Morgan Chase were there, and a number of large corporations, only like 120 people total, but the word blockchain, I find that very important, was only mentioned once or twice, he says. So we're seeing an unbelievable interest in blockchain technology itself in the big picture here. And also another anecdote is the fact that the Department of Defense and the NASDAQ are already testing the platforms on the blockchain. It's not just Bitcoin. That's just the tip of the iceberg at this point. Today's focus with this interview is ICOs, and we got the perfect guest. Ian Balina is with us. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Ian, first of all, what is an ICO or an initial coin offering? Very simplified.
Well, an initial coin offering is a way for blockchain projects or companies to raise funds from the general public. So think of them as a Kickstarter for blockchain companies or projects.
Well, basically, what you're saying is if I want to invest very early at the early stages of a new company that has something to offer on the blockchain, the ICO is the way that they raise funds, and I and you and everyone else has an access to that product, service, business, etc., correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so basically you provide funds to a blockchain project or company, and in exchange they give you a token. So you're basically getting the token. Yes. So as opposed to equity, they give you a token, which is a cryptocurrency or crypto asset that eventually is tradable on an exchange.
Well, you hope that it's tradable, obviously, if it has any value to other people. Now, Ian, just to understand, how if I just want right now to see all the ICOs that are happening, what do I do to check them out? Where do I go?
So the multiple sites I use personally are ICOalert.com and tokenmarket.net. Those are my
How many ICOs per day right now, like give or take?
Oh, right now it's crazy. There are about 5 to 10 ICOs going on a given day.
So about 5 to 10 new ventures try their luck every day. That's like let's call it 1,500 to 3,000 business ideas per year at this pace. Now, what I think is similar between you and I is that you're very passionate about becoming wealthy at an early age, and which is something that I've shared, that I share with you since the age of 13. I'm now 33, but you know as well as I know that 90% of businesses go bankrupt in the first year, and then 50% of those survivors never make it past the second year. So we know that about these 1,500 ICOs or 3,000 ICOs per year, probably around 150 will last the first year and maybe 75 will last the second year. It looks like there's obviously potential with these ICOs because I've seen it myself. But take us through a successful one that you've seen and explain to us what made it a success. I mean, was it anything about the ICO creating a fortune for early adopters based on fundamentals, or is it hype and luck? I mean, what is it at this point? Can you identify a successful ICO, I'm sorry, or is it at this point a lot of luck involved?
Yeah, so definitely. So right now, for example, there are 2 successful ICOs so far recently. One being 0x, which is a decentralized exchange protocol, and the second one being Civic, which is basically identity on a blockchain. So those 2 in particular were successful because both of them already had fully functioning products prior to their ICO. Right, so they weren't just a bunch of guys with just a white paper, which is common in this space. Basically, just a business plan, basically, right? Trying to raise funds. These guys already
actually raised funds after they already provided some value initially.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So they both already had fully functioning products, and then with 0x, it already had a huge community. Right, so the team was going out to different conferences, giving presentations, showcasing the idea, going to different meetups, convincing developers about what they're trying to build and their vision. Right, so they had already established credibility, and then with Civic, the founder Vinny has already had 2 successful exits with his company. His last company, I believe, is sold for over $50 million. Right, so these weren't just fly-by-the-night guys trying to raise money. These were people who are well known in this space. Right, so I would say 1, having a prototype, and 2, having great teams with social proof. So I think those were the main things.
Okay. Before moving on to the next question, just important to say that I have zero affiliation with any of these. It's the first time I've been hearing about these 2 ICOs, and it's just important to say that. Ian, thirdly, explain the blockchain itself in simple terms. I mean, the most exciting applications of it that you're hearing right now that are being implemented. Share with us some of the things that are going on right now.
So some exciting applications going on right now. Actually, I just got off a call. I mean, so one thing that's pretty big in this space is video. Right, so basically decentralized video, basically decentralized applications, and also having the future, I think, is something called blockchain 3.0, which is basically the internet of blockchains, where you can connect 2 totally different blockchains and they can talk to each other, right? So most people are familiar with
interoperability, like interoperability.
Yes. So 2 popular ones are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Imagine if Bitcoin and Ethereum could talk to each other, right? So that's kind of the big next leap in blockchain technology. So there are lots of different ICOs coming out right now that are trying to tackle that problem.
Interesting. So Jamie Dimon, he's the obviously the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, has appeared on Delivering Alpha, which is the CNBC's Heavy Hitters Conference. It's going out right now as we speak. In about 2 weeks, you could go online to YouTube and find all of the interviews from that conference. I annually listen to every interview that they post on YouTube, because these are the titans of industry basically. But for now, they release like glimpses and pieces. And Jamie was so kind. I'm joking because
I heard about it.
But anyways, so dear Jamie says that Bitcoin will be shut down in due time, simply made illegal or banned, or the exchange will be made illegal. Doesn't matter. He says it's temporary. Obviously, he's not the best person to ask about this, because his job is at stake, his livelihood, his identity is at stake if Bitcoin succeeds, and he's one of the worst capitalists in history. But he is of the opinion that governments are not about to allow trade and value transfer to be outside their control once Bitcoin or any of the other cryptocurrencies become large. Would you still trade cryptocurrencies personally if they were illegal? Do you think this is a possible risk at this point, or are you more of the opinion that governments are looking to embrace some sort of a compromise with this new disruptive technology?
I mean, so my opinion is governments will have no choice but to embrace this technology. I mean, because they can't really do much to stop it, right? So people keep saying governments can ban Bitcoin or blockchain, but the whole premise of why it's so disruptive is that it's decentralized in nature. So you can't just ban it, right? So it's basically think of it as a communication medium, right? Just by banning it, you can't really stop it, right? So, for example,
so it can be made illegal, obviously, but it doesn't mean it will.
Right. Yeah. So, the governments could say people can use Bitcoin or blockchain technology, or in general, or for example with currencies, but I mean, it's so hard to monitor that it would just be futile to a point where this is the future, and if other governments don't want to be left behind, they almost in a way have to embrace this technology.
Sure, that's interesting. Now, Ian, give me your pros and cons of Bitcoin.
I mean, the pros. The first thing that's big for me is being able to own your money and control your money, right? Anywhere you are, and being able to transact. Yeah, being able to transact. Right. So, for example, banks have particular times they operate. Right. Usually 9 to 4, 9 to 5, only weekdays. With Bitcoin, I mean, I can do anything on a weekend, 24/7 with my money. I can send money halfway across the world. Right. So I can send currency halfway across the world without having to have a middle person or a broker in between, just directly with the person I'm transacting with.
Okay. And what are the cons in your opinion? I mean, it's not perfect, obviously.
Right. So the con right now is far from going mainstream because it's still complex. Right. You still have to use hexadecimals for sending Bitcoin here and there. Right. So in terms of the user experience, it's not been made frictionless quite yet. Right. It's not as easy as sending funds via PayPal or Venmo, for example. Right. It's not quite.
Do you think one of the cons, Ian, is also that supposedly Satoshi owns about 5% of the Bitcoin in existence, or do you think another problem or challenge with the fact that it's decentralized? That's correct, but obviously the barrier of entry right now to enter the Bitcoin space, you need to, if you want to mine this, you can't just do it. It became a professional game a long time ago. I mean, you need a lot of startup capital to mine,
right?
And also, obviously, it's very much first come, first winning. So, do you think this is also something that's deterring to people, because this is a currency and not an investment class? This is not this is not an investment. It yields nothing. It's very idle. When you buy Bitcoin, it's idle. It sits there. And unless it moves up in value, you can't generate income from it. So do you think that as a currency, as a means of exchange, it's a problem that the first people that came in are obviously in a better position than people that come in later, or basically they benefit from all the people that come in later?
Not quite. I mean, so Bitcoin, I mean, sure, it has its cons in the sense that it's harder to mine, right? But I also think Bitcoin won't be the only game in town, right? I'm very bullish on altcoins, what are known as alternative coins. So basically anything alternative to Bitcoin, right? So altcoins being things like Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies and crypto assets as well, right? So just because somebody's late to the party, I don't think means that they have missed the boat.
Interesting. Okay, well let's go back to blockchain. So in 1903, 114 years ago, and I have a private license for single engine plane, so I'm kind of familiar with this story. The Wright brothers took flight for the first time. 114 years later, at any one point, there's 500,000 people that are in the air right now, traversing the globe as we speak, you and I. And I would say that no one could have foreseen this. So, the best advice I can give people that are listening to this interview right now is to stop watching this interview, turn off your cell phone, lock yourself in a room for 24 hours, and study blockchain, because it's going to be as disruptive as airplanes, at least in potential. It has the potential to change the entire financial industry. And I remember that the Wright brothers couldn't convince local journalists to come document the flight, take pictures, etc., because they didn't believe. And blockchain is also having a very slow development, and obviously it's going to take a while. Most people have not even heard the word blockchain. Should banks, which are in direct cross paths with blockchain, be afraid that the entire financial services industry is going to become obsolete in the traditional sense, and we're going to see a whole new financial services industry in? So banks should be afraid that, in the sense that there's going to be lots of change and evolution in the space, but banks will still be around, I believe, right? There's still other ways to embrace this technology, right? So, for example, the companies like Ripple that are working with banks to leverage blockchain technology, right? So, and there's also lots of banks are part of the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, for example, where they're creating different blockchain projects and experimenting with it. So they don't necessarily have to be afraid of it, because as long as they embrace the technology. Right. Okay. Is blockchain going to allow the third world, which has smartphones right now? I mean, $5 smartphones are just around the corner. Could they be included in the global economy starting, in a decade or 2 decades? Are we looking at something that could liberate wealth, the likes of which we've never seen, because all people will be on the network?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so one of the biggest use cases is banking the unbanked or the underbanked population, right? So not everybody in the developing world has access to banks, but people have access to phones, right? So, for example, being able to have banking access anywhere in the world just based on your phone, and the blockchain is something that's up there in terms of one of the top main use cases for blockchain technology.
Interesting. Well, Ian, we live in amazing times. There's so much going on. Thanks for doing this. It's been very educational. Tell people about your website. I know it has some cool freebies.
Yeah, so my site is ianbalina.com, ianbalina.com. I'm an investor in blockchain technology, and specifically in ICOs, initial coin offerings. I also have a YouTube channel where I cover different ICOs that come up. I basically go through thorough, in-depth reviews. So that's available at youtube.com/hackingthesystem. I also have a free ebook on investing in ICOs for beginners, right? Basically the how to and how to kind of navigate that process. That's also available by going to my website, ianbalina.com/ICOs.
Ian, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.